staying as your squire after the tournament. Come on!
The squire must be strong.
Move!
Oh, Meg, I can't even drink a pint of ale.
Yeah, because it's disgusting.
Oh, it's not disgusting.
It's disgusting.
Have you chosen an opponent yet?
I suppose Aerion and I are quite equally matched.
Aerion's vain and cruel. The Targaryens, tyrants who burned our lands, enslaved our people. They're incestuous aliens, Duncan.
The dragon don't never lose.
Fetch my armor.
Now?
Aye, now.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. This will be my Game of Thrones Night of the Seven Kingdoms Episode 3 trailer video. There's a whole bunch of Easter eggs, references to the books from this, so we'll break it all down. Probably the real question on people's minds is how are they going to top that NSFW intro from Episode 2 and Episode 1? Like, we'll just keep getting crazier episode to episode for the rest of the season. But if you think the pacing for the first couple of episodes was a little slow compared to traditional House of the Dragon episodes more recently, it looks like based on the trailer footage here, by the end of episode 3, things really start to get crazy, like the inciting event, like the really, really big WTF stuff during this actual story starts to go down. The actual episode is titled The Squire, which seems like, based on the footage here, is a reference to Egg asking to become Dunk's squire permanently after the tournament, which is meant to set up future seasons of the show as they adapt the rest of the books from the tales of Dunk and Egg. But the reason in the trailer why Dunk gives that weird look to Egg when he says that is because right now, at the moment, Dunk is only thinking about winning at the tournament and being taken in by one of the great houses as a traditional castle knight as opposed to a wandering hedge knight. And on top of that, now that Baelor Breakspear, most powerful person in the realm basically, has taken an interest in him and he's met the Kingsguard, he's starting to hope that he might even be able to become a Kingsguard someday, even though Egg kind of threw some water on that last episode. So at least right now, like where things are right now, Dunk is not totally sure that he's going to be able to keep Egg on as his permanent squire if he accomplishes his goal. But of course, things aren't going to play out the way Dunk thinks right now, because this wouldn't be Game of Thrones if everything went according to your plans. As you see at the end of the trailer here, where things seem like they really take a turn for the worse with Aerion Brightflame. But as you see at the beginning of the trailer here, they're cooking some eggs for Egg, the squire here. Seems like they're eating the Westeros equivalent of sandwiches, just enjoying themselves at their campsite. You can hear him trying to teach Egg how to be a good squire and take care of the horses as Sir Arlen taught him. This is actually Thunder, the horse that he's having trouble with. Thunder is Dunk's horse. That's why Sir Arlen's sword is strapped to the side. He sold Sweetfoot last episode to pay for his new armor. Everyone pour one out for Sweetfoot. Please go back and buy Sweetfoot from that person again. The other horse that he still has now that was Sir Arlen's before as well was Chestnut, which is now technically Egg's horse as his squire, if Egg's going to be riding a horse eventually. There are a lot of jokes here in the trailer about Egg's tiny size trying to deal with this large horse, and he talked to Dunk about that in last week's episode, about how he was small for his age even, and he wasn't sure that he would eventually be able to become a knight someday.
You're a likely lad.
I'm a bit puny.
We will actually talk about this during my full episode 3 video. There are a couple reveals that will probably happen during episode 3 that we can't quite talk about yet because it's a little bit ahead of the story. In the books, Egg has a couple of names that are attached to him that actually play into the idea that people think him an unlikely person to become someone very great. Which is what his conversation with Dunk was all about. People tell me that I'm small for my age. I don't think that I'll be able to do this someday. Do you think I'll be able to do it? And then they just have the funny moment with Dunk yelling at him like, what are you talking about? I can't give you any advice. So at least at this point in their relationship, Dunk and Egg, Dunk isn't really great at giving him a ton of advice about a ton of different things. He's only good at a couple things. Then later that next day, they go to watch the list to watch more knights jousting and just have a funny back and forth moment with them making fun of each other a little bit, just to show you some of the vibe between the two of them. They actually work really well together, the actors do. One of the reasons why the small folk like this so much is because, yes, jousting, very exciting, but also there was the chance of you winning really valuable stuff and bits of armor. Notice a lot of the very extravagant armor the greater lords, the richer people who are competing in the tournament are wearing. Sometimes what would happen during these matches is that bits of the armor pieces would fly off into the crowd, the small folk would claim them, and they'd be worth crazy money because that really elaborate armor is really expensive to make it's worth a lot of money to small folk. So of course the small folk love the opportunity to win a bunch of free stuff. It's not quite as evident from the TV show because Peter Claffey, who plays Dunk, is in his late 20s. Dunk in the books is actually meant to be like 16 or 17, so it makes a little more sense the way that they're talking to each other like a couple little kids in the books. TV show Dunk looking so much older than Egg makes him feel kind of like a surrogate father. In the books, it's more like being a surrogate brother to Egg because they're much closer to actual age. Dunk being a teenager in the books is also one of the reasons why he's so awkward and so unsure of himself and his size, as opposed to like an older adult who would have probably gotten used to that and learned how to use his size to his advantage. Then at least in the trailer, the first jousting battle that they see is actually Humphrey Beesbury in the bee-looking armor as you would expect with the crest against Humphrey Harding, and they call it the Battle of Humphreys just because it's Humphrey versus Humphrey here. Based on some of the footage, we'll see at least a couple different jousting matches. That was also probably the best part of episode 2 as well, the actual opening jousting scene, the 5 versus 5 match they had. We get another scene of Dunk talking to his new friend Raymond Fossaway about his first match, and Dunk is trying to choose an opponent. But remember, he wants to win, so he's not sure who he should fight, so he's looking for fighters that he feels like he has a chance of winning against. And of course, one of the first people that he mentions, at least in the trailer, this probably isn't the whole conversation, they're just putting a piece of it in the trailer, is Aerion Brightflame.
Aerion and I are quite equally matched.
Part of the reason why they're focusing on him specifically is because of the big Aerion twist at the end of the trailer where things really seem like they jump off the deep end and get super WTF. When Dunk says Aerion and I are equally matched, part of the idea is that Dunk isn't particularly a great fighter, but his incredible size and incredible strength is his advantage over a lot of other people, so he could win in a one-on-one fight with Aerion, but the whole idea is that would depend on Aerion fighting fair, and he does not fight fair. Then the scene of Aerion in his dragon armor meant to look very Daemon-coded. All the Targaryens' armor, like we saw Valarr's armor in episode 1, also very dragon-coded. Part of the idea is that I think they dressed themselves up to look more dragon-like, and even Aerion's horse here has some dragon-looking armor on it, like he dresses his horse up to look like a dragon because he doesn't have an actual dragon to ride. So even though the armor does look pretty sick, it's kind of funny. The idea they feel kind of inadequate, so they have to dress up like dragons to make themselves feel better. But in the list here, this battle that Aerion is fighting, this joust, is against somebody else. It's not against Dunk. It's just an example of Dunk watching him fight. And as you see, it goes really, really off the rails, and everybody freaks out. Raymond Fossaway, clearly not a fan of the Targaryens, love the incestuous aliens, shout out too. Not a fan of the twincest, apparently. All these scenes at the jousting match where you see the small folks start going crazy and it seems like there's a riot going down is actually them trying to help the combatants because of what happens during Aerion's match here against the other person jousting. They kind of cut around it, but you can kind of see here, it basically just goes completely off the rails and Aerion basically fights dirty and something really crazy happens. This is also why you see the Kingsguard riding out of the stables too in their full armor because of what happens with Aerion during the actual jousting match in the middle of the day. Raymond Fossaway makes a couple other big references too about the Targaryens burning their lands, going after all the people. He's basically talking about Aegon's conquest just in general because of Aegon and his 3 dragons and his sister wives burning a lot of people who did not fall into line. Maybe someday we will actually see that Aegon's Conquest series. They're working on it right now, but they also said that there's a chance they might turn Aegon's Conquest into a big theatrical movie, which would be cool if they could do a full trilogy. I don't know about a single movie, but a full trilogy of Aegon's Conquest would be great. But in the trailer, they juxtapose this speech about burning their lands with one of the Targaryens' castle guards throwing over the fire pit here at Tanzel's puppet show. Generally, it seems like things have taken a turn for the worse here, like something bad has happened, and this is why the Targaryens' castle guards are going crazy here. There's also Raymond Fossaway's reference to them hurting their women, their people, as they show a shot of Tanzel, potentially her being in danger because of what happens with Aerion. Can't talk too much about that before the actual episode, but they do show you some of this footage happening in the trailer here.
The dragon don't never lose.
There's a really quick shot of Egg trying to be a good squire running the lance to Dunk. This is meant to be before he thinks that Dunk is going to have his first jousting match, before things go crazy in the episode. Then we get another scene of Tanzelle doing the same play that we saw her doing in episode 1, like she's just doing the play again, and it's Serwyn of the Mirror Shield, which is another famous Westerosi tale that is also done as a play like many, many times over the ages. He was meant to be a legendary figure from the Age of Heroes, although singers now claim he was a knight of the Kingsguard, but there's a lot of questions about when he actually existed or whether or not he was a real person or just fictional that someone created for the story. Most believe he was from House Gardner and served the Kings of the Reach during the Age of Heroes, but the whole idea with the tale here is that according to the song, Serwyn once saved Princess Dorissa from the dragon Urax, who roamed Westeros pre-Targaryen rise before the rise of the Valyrian Freehold during the Age of Heroes. There were dragons before the rise of the Valyrian Freehold. The whole idea during the play is that Serwyn used the mirror shield to confuse the dragon and was able to slay it eventually, which is why Aerion goes crazy, as you see in the other trailer footage. You have to remember that Aerion Targaryen already has a huge chip on his shoulder and a bit of a screw loose, and he is obsessed with dragons. He gave himself the name Aerion Brightflame. He's the Targaryen that later in the timeline eventually drinks wildfire because he thinks himself an actual dragon. So part of the idea is that Aerion sees this play with Tanzelle slaying the puppet dragon, and it drives him crazy. This is also why at the end of the trailer here, Aerion says to Tanzelle, the dragon would never lose, and notice that he has some blood on his lip. That's actually from a fight with Dunk, who tries to defend Tanzelle, which sets off the whole trial by 7. This is meant to be the whole inciting event of the actual series itself, like the actual big WTF stuff that goes down. There are a couple other scenes that they mix in from different parts of the tournament too, like more Lionel Baratheon partying it up inside his tent. Manfred Dondarrion is back there. Of course he's back there partying it up with them. When you see Dunk looking at Sir Arlan's sword and you hear Egg in the background yelling for him to come, that's him yelling to come help save Tanzelle from Aerion. Come help, Aerion is trying to kill her. Then this funny tag scene that they end the trailer on with him telling Egg to fetch his armor while he's up in the tree trying to sharpen his knife here is just earlier in the day when he's getting ready to actually face his first opponent in the list. But like I said, for those of you that felt like the first 2 episodes were kind of slow in terms of pacing, it really does feel like episode 3 is where things really set off because it is also midway through the season, so naturally you would expect a big WTF moment. Everybody posts all your reactions in the comments below. When you spotted any Easter eggs or references to the books that I didn't talk about during the video, just write them below in the comments. In my full episode 3 video, we'll post on Sunday after they release it just like normal. Be sure to enable alerts for my channel so you don't miss that. Everybody click here for that video. I'll update the link as soon as I post it, and click here for all my other Knight of the Seven Kingdoms episodes. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.